All right. Welcome to the first episode of The Spot. This podcast is brought to you by the award-winning Spot Sober Lounge, which is a meeting hall, vape shop, custom apparel store, and a nonprofit organization that focuses on the well-being and helps people make a positive change in their lives through rigorous work with the community and providing an atmosphere that is conducive to recovery. Not only is the man that I'm speaking with today, along with his best friend, do they own the spot? He also runs the nonprofit side of things and truly helps nurture people from a seemingly hopeless state of living a life of spiritual principles. I mean, if you're in recovery in the greater Phoenix area, you've definitely know who this guy is or have heard of him. He sits beautifully and usually bearded on the board of CMA and helps several people manage their lives on and off the clock. Former crystal meth connoisseur, now turned land and business owner, but his most important job, and the one I think we'll probably focus on most of this conversation, is he helps other men, myself included, get closer to God. This man is a spiritual giant, an absolute gangster of the big book, arguably the busiest man in recovery, but usually never too busy to take a phone call. The wonderful and now, today, well-dressed, the best boss I've ever had, the forever flavorful Bryan Moore. So, well, Bryan, it's no secret that when it comes to sponsorship, you're a maniac, for the lack of a better word, truly. And I mean, no joke. When I go to a meeting, it's hard pressed not to find someone whose recovery isn't directly or indirectly affected by you. Either you sponsor them or someone you sponsor does, which isn't a bad thing because most of the time when I hear that they're part of your lineage, I tend to pay attention a little bit more because I know the message is going to at least have something in it that I can use. Even though we've known each other a long time, you're very knowledgeable, and maybe I'll catch something from one of them that I missed in our previous conversations. So my question to you to start this off, and something I know that you touched on when you spoke at the CMA conference, but we're just going to dive right into it for those who were not there. You're not only an advocate for the 12 steps of recovery, but all around recovery, because it is a 3-part disease: mental, physical, and spiritual. Do you notice a correlation between the things that you've learned in the 12 steps, the Room to 12-step recovery, and the tools that you've developed as a result of traditional therapy?
Well, Tim, thank you very much for having me. I do want to say before I start that you did not send the makeup crew over here. So hopefully everything looks okay here. Yeah, so correlation between 12-step recovery and more traditional forms of recovery like therapy. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of crossover, honestly. One thing that I tell a lot of people is that the price of admission really is like knowing that you're the problem. It's a foundational principle of the 12 steps. In step 1, to realize that I'm the problem, and to be able to get some type of an effect out of therapy, you need the same understanding. So just right from the starting point, both those things are the same, right? Like if I go into therapy or I go into 12 steps and really early on I realize that I'm the problem and that I'm willing to work on myself and put in the work, then we can achieve a lot. I've been doing therapy, I would say, every other week for a number of years. And one of the things that I've really learned is therapy kind of picked up for me on, like, I had a lot of sobriety time already, 10 plus years. And it kind of picked up like almost at like a step 5, 6, and 7, right? Like there's all these things that I want to work on, these core values that I have, these character defects that I like to change. And for whatever reason, some of the more stubborn ones on my 6 and 7, my ways of looking at the world, my perceptions on things. Therapy uses different terminology than defects of character, but they talk about, core values and triggers and coping mechanisms. They use the word maladaptive coping mechanisms a lot. Some of them were more stubborn. And so like going into therapy, trying to work on stuff that I had already done recovery work on that for whatever reason continued to come up. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist. This is, my educated opinion, but the foundation of recovery is that, a belief in a higher power and learning how to be a better person through mentorship will change your life. And in therapy, it's a little different because it's not like a sponsor telling you, hey, here's the road. It's more like, okay, let's explore together where you develop these habits, where you develop these things about yourself. the correlation is that in both in recovery and in therapy, I learned that like these are skills that I developed very early on. I learned in recovery that my emotional growth was stunted, right? Like it talks about it in the doctor's opinion. It says that we seek out a sense of ease and comfort to be able to deal with things. And because I had done that at an early age, I developed these maladaptive coping mechanisms, and drugs and alcohol were doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. Now you get way down the road, longer out down the road in recovery, and I found out that, oh, I still have to develop better coping mechanisms. I was kind of emotionally stunted, so to speak. And the correlation was like, okay, we're going to do some work on the person that Bryan wants to become. That was rooted in my belief in God and like the good men that came before me in recovery that had taught me how to role model, so to speak, right? But you kind of uncover all that stuff, and what you're left with is like kind of the foundation principle of therapy is it all goes back to childhood. And so like, it like I said, it really was like picking up at like a fifth step and then going into six and seven. Like that's how I came in the door to therapy. Like, okay, I'm open minded, I'm willing, I'm gonna be honest, same as I was in recovery. And let's see what we can uncover here. Uh and my experience in sponsorship is it was similar, but it was more like, okay, I'm gonna show you how to do what I've done to take care of this stuff. Where in therapy, it was like, okay, I'm a trained professional and these areas and the stuff we want to work on. Let's figure out where they came from and develop some different tools to be able to combat them in like real time. And some talk therapy, there's a lot of different types, I don't want to get too into the weeds on it, but some of it is like, okay, we're going to talk about stuff from the past. I spend a lot more of my therapy sessions talking about what's going on currently and just kind of making the correlation. And it's been really, really successful. I'm a huge advocate for the 12 steps, and I'm also a huge advocate for getting outside help. There's some really good passages in the book that talk about this. And it is my firm belief that a lot of people in 12-step programs are ignorant to mental health in the more traditional sense. And you get something like, hey, I'm depressed. I don't have depression, but just say, for example, for the purposes of this interview, that I'm depressed, right? And I go to a meeting and I talk about it and I get it out and I feel a little bit better. And then someone says, okay, you need to pray more or you need to meditate more. And so I go and pray and I meditate I have this imbalance in my brain that I didn't know I had when I was getting loaded. And not the people in the room aren't trained professionals to see this. And I'm still depressed. And then I get upset at myself, right? Because I'm like, okay, I'm not doing the program right. And I've seen that in recovery many times. I've seen people that know the book really well, that are sponsoring guys, and they come to that jumping off point, not the jumping off point that it says in the book where either I'm going to use or not, and I can't see my life with drugs and alcohol, or I can't see my life without it, but the jumping off point where they're like suicidal and they just keep trying to throw the program stuff at it. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work. And I've seen people that lost their life or did go use over mental health stuff, and they were working a solid program. And so those experiences that I've had with people that I've got to help led me to a place where in my life, I wasn't suicidal, but I was having severe unmanageability that wasn't based upon how well I was working the program. Like I wasn't thinking about getting loaded, but I was really down on myself. And I was like, just trying to throw every program tool I could at it. Every time going through the step or calling a sponsor, doing a 10 and 11, sponsoring the hell out of guys, and it didn't work. It didn't work. And so I believe the correlation, to kind of sum up this whole long answer I've given you, is that doing both together works extremely well, extremely well. And I've been able to benefit from it, and I've been able to help other people. And I've only recently started sharing that from the podium because I believe it's an important message.
And I agree with you. I mean, this isn't my first time around. I've known you for quite some time. And I know like 10 years ago when I was in the program, I felt there was a stigma. And I see it's gotten a lot better in the last few years about traditional therapy in the rooms. Do you feel that was because a few people may have had like a bad experience with therapy? Or do you think it stems from a fear that people might get contradicting advice? Because in my experience, it's helped me develop as a person and notice that feeling I would get before I was about to do something shitty. Because I mean, in the end, it's all about the root of the behavior. I mean, that feeling you get before we are going to act out. So, I mean, like, what do you think caused that stigma?
I mean, there's a couple things really. One is like one of the oldest cliches in the book, right, is like, you don't know what you don't know. And so if you have people that have recovered, right, the obsession's been relieved from them and they haven't drank or used in a long time and they don't know because they haven't done therapy themselves, they just parrot the stuff that's been taught to them and the stuff that's in the book. And that's all great stuff and it helps tremendously. So you got to understand this book was written in the 1930s and 40s, right? Where our understanding of psychology was very limited. So if you have someone that doesn't have the experience and the literature that they're reading doesn't talk a lot about it because they didn't have the knowledge there, then it creates a stigma. I think one of the things that's helped is that recovery's blown up in Phoenix and Arizona in general. And so there are a lot of professionals that work at places or manage places or own places that came to the same understanding that I did and got some help for themselves. And also, probably because of the nature of that business, they were mandated to provide mental health help in a more traditional sense. And that starts to bleed through, right? When you have someone that works at a program or owns a place and they're also doing 12-step recovery, they're doing their own stuff because they came to where I was at, and they're also their place that they're running is legitimate and providing good services and providing real mental health help outside of just the substance use disorder. Then people start sharing about it. The stigma, I think, comes from, also the pain of your ego, right? Like, I'm a huge Eckhart Tolle fan, and he talks a lot about our attachments and how our ego manifests. And the truth is that, like, if I'm in recovery and I've been sober a long time and I'm doing the deal, right? Like, last thing I want to do is get up at a podium or even in a small group and tell people like, hey, I'm struggling. Especially when I say I'm struggling, they just say do more recovery. So even if I'm somebody that started to get to that realm, or I'm started to seek some outside help, or I'm just interested in seeing if other people have the same experience, I don't want to go. We want to feel good. We want to talk about the good we're doing. And if we talk about struggling, and someone says, "Okay, we'll go do this," the thing about recovery is it does work. You could never go to therapy ever, right? And you could focus on yourself, you could pray, and you could go help people, and it would work a large portion of the time. Is it sustainable though, right? Is this sustainable, or am I capping myself to a limit of that's the formula, or am I pushing myself to be like, okay, what's the underlying issue here? And me personally, like, I sponsored guys like I was trying to win some award, one for ego, and two because I had a lot of issues, and it
Well, I
kept
mean,
me
you did win
sober.
an award recently.
I did, not for sponsorship, but for something different. And it made me feel good about myself and it created good self-esteem. But these other things still kept coming up, right? And the thing about it is that nobody really shared it with me. They're not in the beginning. Over time, I had some old timers that did share some stuff with me. And I had a really pivotal conversation with a gentleman. I'm not going to break his anonymity, but he's been sober some 30 some odd years. And I was struggling to help a sponsee who was was suicidal. And this gentleman told me that the same thing had happened to him, and he went to therapy. And he got on some medication. And he said that he definitely wouldn't have been sober, and he definitely wouldn't have been alive had he not done those things. And I was able to help this gentleman that I sponsor, and he got better. And then when I got to a place that was unmanageable, like I said, I don't have depression. I'm not suicidal. I don't mean that to be demeaning to anyone that's watching this podcast. I just want to be clear that that's not the mental health issue that I have. I have ADHD and some anxiety. But when I got to a place where I was out of answers and the recovery stuff wasn't working anymore, I remember that conversation, and I reached out to some guys that had been sober a long time, and I was candid about where I was at. And then they were able to be candid with me about their seeking outside help. And so I know the question was about the stigma, and my mind goes in a lot of different directions, but I think that's how we break the stigma, right? You might not always feel comfortable doing that at the podium. That's okay. Some people can, some people can't. But in those one-on-one conversations, right? If you've been around for a little bit and you've ever gotten some mental health help, talk to somebody else about that and share your experience. Because that's what the foundation of the program is, right? I share my experience, strength, and hope. And my experience, strength, and hope for me is in a lot of different areas. And so one-on-one, I help somebody, and then maybe they go into it with an open mind and they get some help and they help somebody else out. And so over the while, we're breaking the stigma. And the truth is that when I came into recovery, recovery was a stigma. That's gone. That's completely gone. Not out here, anyways. It's completely gone. So many resources, so many wonderful businesses, so many people doing the work, whether it's, volunteer work or in their professional life, that's gone. The mental health stigma, I think, has gotten better, but I believe that it's still there.
And yeah, and I definitely think that stigma is today almost gone around recovering addicts. But I mean, it was only recently that that's happened, I think. As a recovering addict, did you notice that, and a business owner, did you notice that stigma, especially with the nature of the business that you have, which is centered around recovery? Do you feel that people are
Oh
like
yeah.
scrutinizing you a little bit more than they would normally? I mean, I'd imagine the bar has been set higher than it would be for someone else. Do you feel most people are kind of just waiting for you to make a mistake, or is that not the
Well,
case? I mean,
I don't know if that's the case now. I know that we have a huge spotlight, but going into the business, we had an extremely difficult time finding a lease. I mean, me and my
oh,
partner,
it's a hard sell to convince someone to let you open a fucking sober lounge. I'm sure there was pushback from the
I
community at
mean,
first. I mean,
this is what I tell people, man, is that like I had great credit score. I had references. I had owned a previous business. My partner owns a business. We're successful people in the community. We have all the money that in the bank, and we show them our finances, and still got told no over and over and over again because of the usage. So when you sign a commercial real estate contract, the owner of the place has to sign off on the usage of what you're doing. And no matter how well we explained it, when it came down to it, they were like, yeah, yeah, I don't know if I want those type of people like in our complex. And I'm like, these people are already there. They're the people that you're worried about that are trashing the parking lot and that are, going to the whatever Wendy's over here and spending a couple bucks and then won't leave. Like we're trying to provide a solution here. And it was a huge bar. It was really, really hard. And, we got past that and we found a location in an area that needed a lot of help. And then there's been roadblocks since then, I don't know that people are waiting on us to fail, but I will say at least for the first 6 months, everyone told us it was the dumbest idea they ever heard. I mean, we opened during COVID. We literally opened during COVID, and people are like, "You don't open a business during COVID," and we're like, "Yeah, no, we're doing it." Like we ran out of the initial investment we had before we were even open. Like the place is still doing construction, and we opened, and then you have these COVID outbreaks, right? And then the treatment center or the halfway house is like, "Oh, people can't go to the spot. The spot's just spreading COVID." But the truth is that people were dying. Like people could not stay sober. People were dying, and we just really firmly believed in what we had, in the idea that we had created. And many, many times I have felt like giving up. You know what I mean? Giving up, walking away. Anyone that's ever owned a business knows about those conversations. Maybe it's you and your wife at 11 o'clock and there's no money to pay the bills and you're stressed out and something happens and you're still working while you're working your other job. And people are out there hating on you and you just feel like walking away. The one thing I can say is, regardless of people not liking what we were doing or the naysayers, our spiritual condition, I always felt like God was in the middle of it. And the spot is only successful because every time it comes to a decision, we lean on our connection with God, and then it goes right. When we get in self will, it doesn't go right. When we get in God's will, it does. Now, I don't think anybody's waiting on us to fail. I think people are waiting to see what the next thing we're going to do is. We've done the Sober Fest, we got the nonprofit, we have the spot. People are constantly wanting us to open another one. People call us from other places. But from a business standpoint, right, especially the nature of this business, is the success rate in any recovery business is not great. And those things come up. We make shirts that say "Pray for the haters." Maybe you guys seen them out there. That's what we do. We pray for the haters, right? My disposition is the type of person like, and to circle back on our prior conversation, I have this coping mechanism that I developed at a very early age, which was, you tell me I'm not going to do something, and I will absolutely prove you wrong. I will try 100 times harder and work 100 times harder to prove to you that I can do what I say I'm going to do. And that, in this instance, like helped trajectorize the spot and all the things that we do to another level. And I believe that my partner has those same characteristics. So at this point, we're we're along for the ride. I think people love what we do, and we've gotten a lot of love from the community. It was slow at first, but we ain't going nowhere. We'll have to wait and see what's next.
And that's awesome because I know at first I'm sure you guys had a lot to prove going into this situation, but I think you've done that at this point. So we all know about the spot Sober Lounge on 43rd and Northern hosts meetings all day and sells vapes and cool ass shirts and apparel. Which, by the way, if anyone has not been to the spot, I definitely recommend you check us out. Everyone's welcome there, even if you're broke. I mean, we want you there more than we want your money. I mean, we want your money too. Don't get me wrong on that. Like, definitely come and buy a vape or a shirt or a monster. But let's talk about the charity side of things for a moment. The nonprofit that you mentioned. You just said you did an event, Soberfest, which was wildly successful. What can we expect from the nonprofit side of things in the near future?
So we were told to get a nonprofit for a while. We've only had our nonprofit for about 4 months. We have a great board in place, and I mean the sky's the limit. The primary things that we're focused on is getting more services, and the nonprofit rents the space from the entity that owns the spot, and they provide meetings. We want to have more resources and classes. Some of the ideas that I've had is how to restore your rights, some financial literacy stuff. We have done in the past and will do in the future more relationship counseling, how to make a resume, those type of classes to provide more services to the community as a whole. Soberfest was a huge deal. That is a kind of an offshoot that we do with another gentleman by the name of Mike Stantz. That is a all pathways to recovery music festival that went great. And we will be doing that again next year. You heard it here first. October 18th is our day every year on that day, that weekend, I should say, because it might not be the 18th, but that weekend will be Soberfest Phoenix every single year. And we just want to help the community as much as possible, provide classes, do stuff for the holidays with adopting families, help people that are in recovery that may be struggling in different areas, whether it's financially or whatever areas they can. I mean, we have a great board with people that have a ton of skill. If you got ideas, I mean, any anything and all is welcome. But that's what we're working on right now. I know my partner is leading up a charge to do our first gala next year, and the sky's the limit as far as what we can provide. Like I said, God's in the middle of it, and we got some great people who have a lot of different skill sets. I got a couple of women on our board that are in finance and accounting. I have three out of us are business owners. We have, I'm sorry, four of us. Stefan's wife is on the board. She's got a lot of resources for like childcare, and she knows how to do homeschooling, and is a big proponent for children, and helping children in whatever way we can. Whatever skills that we don't have or things that the community needs, like we're willing to go out and learn or get the right people in place to provide those. So it's really because we're so focused on helping the community, those are the needs we see. But if the community tells us, hey, these are the things that we need, or we see an underserved population or an underserved need, we will also do those things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that what you had said before, it was just such a cool business model that you took an area where there was all these people outside and kind of just invited them inside, and like taught them a little bit about something that we don't talk about in the rooms too much, which is something you preach to me a lot about, which is self-care. So if we could talk about that for a moment, because I think that's a big part of your mission, if what I'm hearing is correct. A lot of the people out there and a lot of the resources you're providing for people are kind of teaching them how to have a little bit of integrity for themselves and do a little bit of self-care. I've noticed, like, do you think that's important, and how important do you think that is for the newcomer to learn a little bit of self-care right off the bat?
I think the primary focus, of course, is going to be like, how do we recover from a hopeless state of mind and body? And learning to change behaviors, right? If I want to have self-esteem, I have to do esteemable things. Once we've gotten through the steps, right, and we're at a point where we're carrying the message to other addicts and alcoholics, and doing our 10 and 11 on a daily basis, I have found that all mental health, we need time to downtime. A lot of us either don't have hobbies, or we threw our hobbies away to get high and drunk, right? And in the beginning, for me, it was very like all pedal, no brake, all recovery all the time. But what I realized is that you can still do recovery all the time and still take care of yourself, right? Like the things I learn in recovery and how I apply the steps is how I, you know, interact with others, how I look at the world. And I can apply that to picking up old hobbies that I remember I used to love reading, and I hadn't read a book while I was getting loaded for years, years, other than when I got locked up. Because, of course, when you're locked up,
Yeah.
that's when you read, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so I started reading again, exercise. I'm a huge believer in exercise. Shout out to any of the businesses that are out there that promote exercise as a part of recovery. There's a bunch of them. I'm not going to name your names unless you pay me to be on this podcast, but you're out there. I love people that work out. It's really helpful for recovery. Goes right along with meditation. Can be meditation for a lot of people. When the inside changes, right, and my way that I look at the world changes, and I get a relationship with God, I feel differently about everything that's going on. And no matter how many meetings you go to, or how many people you sponsor, or how many service commitments you have, or how much you work, there's still going to be times in the day where those things aren't going on. And so, what do I do to take care of my mind and my body and my soul outside of those things? And it helps mental health. And the truth is that I didn't learn this in recovery. I learned this in traditional forms of therapy. Substance use disorder is a mental illness. And mental illness means I got to take care of myself. I got to have downtime. I got to rest. I got to relax. I need to have hobbies. I need to have things I do that allow me to be centered and have a well-rounded picture. Because otherwise, it's really easy for me to run the show, and it becomes, at least my experience, it becomes about ego. How many dues am I sponsoring? How many people love me when I go to the meeting? How much money am I making? How many material things am I getting? And it becomes almost counterproductive. And so learning how to be comfortable in my own skin, which I never was, right? That's why I started getting loaded to begin with, meant that I had to develop good forms of self-care to not be about ego when nobody else is around, when it's just me and myself. Like, what am I doing to take care of myself? And it went right along with my spiritual journey, right? Like, God wants me to be well-rounded and do things for myself. And it was hard because so much of the program is that we're selfish and self-centered, and get out of that and help other people. But the truth is, if I don't take care of myself, then I am being selfish and self-centered. You know why? Because if I'm not taking care of myself, how well can I help other people? How good is my step work going to be when I sit down with a sponsee when I'm exhausted because I haven't took any downtime in a week? It might be okay, but it'd be a lot better if I took some time for myself and I was in a good place to where my character defects didn't shine through when I sat down with that other guy. How well am I going to do at my service commitment when I'm stressed because I haven't taken time to take care of myself? I will do much better if I take care of myself. And this is another message. I think you're doing a great job with the interview here, because these are things I don't get to talk about a lot, but self-care is a part of recovery. And I'll be a little forceful for a minute. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to do the outside things all the time, right? Fellowship, sponsorship, meetings, talking to your sponsor. You have to do those things. Without them, you won't stay sober. But you also have to do things to recover and relax. And maybe because I have ADHD, that was a hard lesson for me to learn.
And yeah, and that's why I bring all these things up, because I mean, he's an inside job, as we know, and I had a little bit of inside information about the stuff you really don't get to talk about, because I mean, you are my sponsor. So, I encourage anyone that, if we don't touch on something in this interview, to just come down to the spot and talk to someone. Talk to one of us if you have questions that we didn't answer in this interview. I would encourage that wildly. And another thing that I've noticed, and you were talking about this, I think it all comes down to, I mean, the steps are really disguised as like an exercise in trusting God. Like every one of the steps is just disguised as like a way to get you closer to God. And it translates in so many other different areas of our lives too. And the spiritual principles that it tries to teach, such as like honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, especially some of the steps that are the hardest for people. Like, I see more people go out on the fifth step than I do any other step. I mean, is that something, because I would consider you an expert on being a sponsor, or as close to as an expert as someone could possibly be to being a sponsor. Do you feel that there's a stigma around the fifth step, like when people decide, oh, I just can't get honest, and just decide to go out?
I mean, it's real. I mean, I think we build it up a little bit too much. Personally, I think people talk about it so much that it leads to us being more fearful than we really need to be. I mean, I've sponsored hundreds of guys, and I've done step 1, 2, 3, and a little bit of 4 more times than I can count. To where I could, you know, as corny as it may sound, I could literally do it without even picking up the book. And people do go out on the fifth step a lot. It's not my personal opinion. I think that 8 and 9 is much scarier than, especially 9, than 5. I really do. It was for me, and I think it's a lot harder. I think the fifth step. The problem with the fifth step is that 4 and 5 isn't really a 4 and 5 problem. The problem is the third step problem, right? Like if I don't really trust God, and I haven't given up the idea that I can run my own life, I can't do it. I can't do a thorough and honest fourth and fifth step. 4 is super easy, especially if you have a good sponsor that can sit down and help you write it out. I could write a 4th step right now while we're on this podcast. I could do 10 columns on each one of the categories in 10 minutes. But that's based on the assumption that I understand that I can't run my life, and that I'm insane even when I'm sober, and that I need a power greater than myself to help me. Like if I understand those things, not me telling you or me telling my sponsor or my family, like in my core of my being, then I'm eager to get rid of the areas of self that are blocking me from that higher power. And so if I'm eager to get rid of those things, I can just write. But the book says the ego box in investigation, right? If you read the 12 and 12 on 4 and 5, it's got some really good material where it talks about the ways that writing a 4 and 5 makes us feel. And the truth is that I don't think people go out, not even necessarily from leaving stuff off their 4 and 5. I think they go out in the process of 4 and 5, sitting there stuck in the problem without the solution on the other end of it. Like I'm writing something, or I'm thinking about writing something, or I'm worried about telling somebody something, or I'm worried about something from the past. And the truth is, I'm not in here right now. I'm not in here right now. So my relationship with you is gone. My relationship with God is gone, because my relationship with you and God and everyone around me is based on what's going on right now. And if I'm sitting on a 4 and I haven't done a 5, or I'm going into a 5 and I haven't shared it with another individual in God yet, right? And I'm all this fear, 100 forms of fear, the book says, I don't trust God. And it's okay if that all you have is that little bit of willingness that it talks about in the third step, willing to do the process to get a better relationship with God. But on the other side of all that fear is nothing but faith. On the other side of 4 and 5 is nothing but freedom. A gentleman that is one of the founders of the men's group that I'm a part of, he said that, the best part about it is that I can go to bed on the softest pillow in town. And that's my experience with 4 and 5, right? It's like the softest pillow in town, because I got everything out. And when I get everything out, then God just rushes in, right? Like he's always there, but stripping away the ego, stripping away those parts of myself that are broken, that don't work, is a freeing process. Like we should embrace it. We shouldn't make it something to be afraid of. We should make it to be something like, how cool is it that we get to become a new person, right? That's the message of the steps. Have a spiritual experience to become reborn. That's what it says at the end of step 3. We were reborn. Like, isn't that cool? And I think people that have a hard time with being reborn is because truthfully, they're having a hard time with 3 and probably a little bit of 1 and 2, right? I don't want to be reborn if I still think I got the answers. I don't want to strip away parts of myself if I still think I can figure this out. But if I'm convinced that sober, I will make insane decisions and run my life into the ground again, then I'm like, okay, well, I got to be reborn. I got to change. It's not about removing the drugs and alcohol, because we already removed the drugs and alcohol when we got here. Once the drugs and alcohol are gone and I'm left with me, like that doesn't always feel good. But the ego box and investigation. Do I want to pull these things out of myself and put them in the light where they don't have power, with somebody that understands, that can relate and not judge me? Do I want to do that? Probably not. Probably nobody really wants to do that. But when I do it, am I willing to trust God and this other man in front of me enough to know that when I do that, the solution is there and is available to me and I will recover? Okay. All right. I could sign up for that. I could totally sign up for that. Conversely, you're right. I've seen a lot of people go out over 4 and 5, but I'll tell you this, almost without question, every guy that I've had the opportunity to sponsor that has completed a 5th step, almost all of them, I've gotten all the way through the steps and they've attained a greater life and measure of sobriety. So like, don't make it into this huge ordeal. It's really not. If you forget something, it happens. Get honest on it when your meditation at the end of the 5th step or later on in the steps. Just get it done. Because getting to the real solution is what the rest of the steps are. 1, 2, and 3 is all problem. 4 and 5 is a little bit a problem and a little solution at the end. 6 through 12 is where the magic happens, And 5 for me was like, okay, now I feel like I've done some actual work. Like I've done some real work, not theoretically understanding things. Like I've actually put some work into my recovery and I built the foundation solid. And God and other people in the program are going to show me how to build up from this foundation to this great spiritual structure that has become my life.
And and yeah, and I've noticed because so for me with the 5th step, it was easy to admit some of the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I robbed this dude, or like, oh, I stole from my mom, or like I sold some copper, I was homeless. All that shit is easy to admit, but there's gonna come a point, and I'm gonna make a little bit of a joke here about this. On the 5th step, where if you've smoked crystal meth, right? Your sponsor,
Mm-hmm.
and he's waiting for this because at the end of the 5th step, he's gonna be like, and what else? And what that translates to is, what about the gay stuff that you did? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I've done gay stuff. Well, okay, if you held a flashlight to it and the light hit it the right way, it might be considered kind of gay. But like, I'm just like, we've all done it. Your sponsor was sitting there for 2.5 hours listening to some crazy bullshit. Tell him something interesting. Do him a favor. Give him the good shit. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, you're
Let me
not you're
just
not
touch
doing
on
it.
that for one moment. I don't want to interrupt you, but if you are gay, then that's not your stuff. If you're gay, maybe it was the
Yeah,
straight thing that you did. You know what I mean? When you were trying
yeah,
to pretend not to be gay. So we
yeah,
want to get that
exactly.
out there for everybody that's watching that might be that way. And if you're straight, it isn't even what you did. It's the fact that you think that defines you, right? And that's who you are. Yeah, I've heard a lot of 5th steps. I've heard a lot, and I get to relate. Um, and yeah, I mean, it says the grave takers list. Not all of mine was gay stuff. Um, some of it was, some of it is other areas. I actually got to present on the 5th step one time at a meeting where they record it, and I was like, yeah, this is the only one you can't record. You know what I mean? It is an intimate process for a reason. You blew my cover a little bit. Let's peek behind the curtain, peel the onion back. Yeah, you did some gay stuff, probably. If you're watching this, we already know. We're just waiting to hear it. But you don't got to tell everybody, man. The
Exactly.
cool part about a 5th step is you only got to get honest with one person. And if you didn't do some gay stuff, I guarantee you did some other stuff that you're super ashamed of, and that'll take you out.
Yeah.
That's the truth, right? We all got those things, and that grave takers list is extremely important because that fear and guilt and shame around that, I'll drink over that. I will smoke a lot of crystal meth. Like you said, you smoked crystal meth? Yeah, you know how much I smoked? All of it. All of it. Yours, mine, the guy up the street, the other side of town. Everybody's out. We're going to go find the guy that's making it, get him to come over. You know what I mean? Like some of it probably wasn't crystal meth. Some of it was probably Raid that we smoked and some other, some other various pool chemicals that weren't combined correctly. And to be clear, I mean, I've done pretty much every drug that you can think of. Yeah, man, like bring up a good point. Like I said, I want to be a proponent for demystifying the step work and not making it a scary thing. The anxiety and trepidation and fear is real in a sense that the feelings are valid, but the truth is that it's something that your brain is creating because it's broken. Fear isn't real. It's not as bad as you think it's going to be. No one cares as much as you think you are. They do. You're not terminally unique. I promise you. You're not. Anything that you possibly did that's on your 5th step, a bunch of other people have done it. Some of them have done it way crazier. Maybe you talk to your sponsor and you're like, damn, I love this dude and I look up to him, but he is sicker than me. He might be sicker than you, or he might be the same level, and it makes you feel a part of, right?
And that's the crazy part about this thing is when you meet somebody sicker than you, which is rare, and you see them recover, you're like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of hope for me. You know what I'm saying? Like what
This
they
is an
did was
interesting experience. I'm being interviewed by my sponsor, and I'm wondering right now, as Tim is saying that, as Tim thinks that I'm sicker than him, he might.
100%.
It's possible.
Like
100%, he says. 100%.
yeah, checks out.
I mean, there was that one time with the three-wheeler and the duck. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's crazy because like you said, we're not terminally unique. I think we've all done stuff that we're ashamed of, but in order to truly get over it, it's not to sit there in what the book calls morbid reflection. It's to just admit it, move past it, and, correct those behaviors today, which, today I truly try
Well,
to
here's the
live.
thing, right? Like, God loves you, and God doesn't operate out of shame.
No,
That's the truth.
that's the truth. And today I try to come from a place of like, I mean, because for me, I have to have integrity in all parts of my recovery. I don't have the luxury of like, because when I was getting loaded, I had this superpower to be able to tell anybody what they wanted to hear and then just go do whatever the hell I wanted to, regardless. Like, I could talk a really good game and tell people, oh no, I'm doing good. Tell my boss, my girlfriend, or my landlord, if I was lucky enough to have those things in my life at that point in time, that, I was late on the rent because my check, there's a problem at the bank, or I'm late to work because my alarm didn't go off. When the truth is I was just smoking crack until 7 a.m. and like couldn't make it to work by 9. I mean, I'm one of the only people I know that's called out of work sober, like called out because I didn't have enough drugs to get to work that day. That's when I realized that it might be an issue. But today I try to live a life of integrity. I don't have that luxury of being able to tell myself or anyone else what they want to hear, and doing what I want to do more closely aligns, like my actions closely align with my words. I mean, I fall short sometimes, but I think we all do, and
That brings up an interesting topic. Like, one of the things that I've heard, and I know all the cliches, so if you're around me, sometimes they come out, but I try to explain them, right? Is that I don't compare your inside to other people's outside, right? Like, I fall short and I'm not doing something that I have integrity, right? I'm sober now, so I notice when something doesn't line up with the perfect higher power that I have in the way that he wants me to be, and it bothers me. And so I compare what's going on inside, how I feel about those things, to someone else that I look up to, and I'm like, oh man, they don't have these issues. Yeah, that's not true at all. Like, we all have those things, and we all fall short. And the I used to get upset when I would do at myself, really hard on myself, about falling short of things in the program. And my sponsor kept telling me over and over again, it was probably 5 years of hearing this before I really believed it. He said, that ain't the program. The program is the difference is that now you notice it, right? It's not that you don't have character defects or that you get rid of them all, because you ain't never going to get rid of them all. Newsflash, if you're out there, they're never all going to go away. It's that you
I'm
notice them now.
And
You notice them.
today I'm not like as embarrassed of them. I mean, I'm actually grateful when I make mistakes or character defects come up. I actually thank God for the opportunity to become better. Like, how can I better myself, And like, I see those situations as an opportunity to get better rather than like, oh, I'm doing this wrong, Because at this point in my recovery, this time around and in life, I have 100% survival rate. So anything that happens to me is not going to kill me. You know what I'm saying? No matter the mistake I make or like whatever seems to be embarrassment, as long as I don't go out and use again, I don't think it's going to kill me. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing is
No,
as
I
disastrous.
agree. You or I will probably die in some very ridiculous, mundane way.
Yeah. On a Tuesday, just like 9 a.m. in line at Costco.
Petting a dog. I'll be in the middle of petting a dog on the phone, talking to somebody, and it just be like, okay, that's your time. It won't be these things that I think are the big deals.
No. But yeah, so man, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today to do this, because I know you're probably, again, the busiest dude that I know, and I know there's probably a couple things you wanna tell people about. Is there any events coming up at the spot that you wanna let people know about, or is there anything that you got going on otherwise that you want to let people know about?
Sure. We talked a little bit about Soberfest already. We got our holiday families coming up, so we usually adopt some families for Thanksgiving and Christmas, help out some people in the community that aren't addicts and alcoholics. So we'll be taking some donations there. We're really going to try to do more live music. We Our goal is to at least twice a month have some type of music related events at the spot. You know, stay tuned. Follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Of course, this podcast that's just starting out. We will let you know how the things go with the gala for next year. What else do we got going on? We'll be filming a lot of content. You're interested, reach out to Tim, get on this podcast, come by the spot. Don't be surprised. Of course, we'll ask first. We'll never film in the meeting room, but if you want to get on some of our content, we like doing live videos. Maybe you've seen some of them, maybe you haven't. Really just trying to get to the next level of helping as many people as we possibly can, right? Like I got the opportunity, Stefan got the opportunity, our whole team got the opportunity to get a relationship with a higher power and know that God loves us and that we can recover and we're all out there doing the things. I want to give a quick shout out to my whole team. We have an amazing team, everybody on the board. So we got Tara, we got Carlos, we got Beth, we got Stefan, myself, of course, my lovely wife, Irene, the team for the spot. We got Kristen Day, we got Angela, we got Miles, we got some great employees and the podcaster himself, Tim Bigfoot Procini. We got Casey. We got Junior running around. He's got the junior look, trying to be a little imitation of me, but without the drugs and alcohol. So that's good. And everybody that comes up to the spot and helps us out, like Preston. Don't let me forget about OG Preston, the low key security guy at the spot. I probably forgot somebody, but I mean, our team is amazing, and just stay tuned. I mean, there's going to be so much more. Like I'm telling you guys, you will be amazed, and you guys are here along the ride for us. We appreciate the support of the community and everybody that supports what we're doing. And if you don't like what we're doing, there's a complaint box. Tim has it, so you need to go find Tim wherever he's at, and you tell him all the things you don't like, and he'll take care of those things. I want you only, me and Stefan and the rest of the guys only want to hear about the stuff you do like. So the stuff that's good, you come tell us that, pat us on the back, boost our ego up. All the bad stuff you find Tim, and that's his new job. I just gave it to him right now. Tim Bigfoot Porcini. That beard is savage. I don't even know what's it. The beard's coming through the screen at me right now. So his beard is talking while he's talking. It's quite interesting. But yeah, just so much more coming up, man. And I know Stefan's going to be on here in a little bit. If you guys need anything at all, man, any kind of help or whatever, just reach out. Just reach out, talk to anybody, and everybody's very, very grateful to help. And you guys help us stay sober, be successful, and just we got a movement at this point. It's not a business, it's not a community. We got a movement. You know, it's a movement, and it's picked up so much steam that just come along for the ride. You know, God loves you. I love you, Tim. I appreciate you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
what I got.
and before we go, I just want to say how the spots helped me personally. And I mean, again, it's just an example of, everybody is welcome because, and I thank God that there were people out there when I wasn't ready, still willing to extend the hand to me. Because I think the first time I came to the
Are you
spot,
tell the
I was
story?
high
Yes, tell the story. Yes, tell them what you did.
and we were hitting storage units and I had a bunch of stuff, speakers, surround sound systems, crazy terrible shoes, and I brought them in to the spot and sold Bryan a surround sound system, and
You
he was like,
did.
yeah, bring the TVs up, and I'm like, all right, I'll be right
I'll be
back,
right
and then
back. And he never came
never
back. You
came
went and
back.
got dope. But
I
yeah,
went and
we
got
bought a
this.
speaker from you when you were loaded. You're damn right. I didn't see. By the time I talked to you again, you had went through treatment. It was a long time later. But yeah, that's the truth. You did low key buying stuff from addicts at the spot. You know what I mean? You never came back, but you did come back, and now you're here, and
I
you're doing
mean,
great.
you got to recognize a good deal when you see one. I think that's just smart consumerism.
It was. We don't trade food stamps though at the spot. I just want to make that clear before everybody starts hitting me up. Government's back open, stamps is back on. You know,
I'm sure someone up there will buy them from you if you, but never. That's
we're not gonna put that. We're not gonna
no.
put that out there. But if you're high right now or you're struggling, that doesn't mean don't come to the spot. Like he said, everybody's welcome. Yeah, you. I mean, one of our other team members I didn't mention, Gio, was trying to get me to buy him a new tire outside the spot one time while he was getting high. He really didn't want a tire,
Yeah,
but
no.
yeah, that's the story. Tim was came up there selling stolen goods at the spot. You heard it here first. Yeah, I mean, it's classic.
And I mean, come up to the spot, get a sponsor, do the steps, and just have a good life is really the message. And I want to thank you for being.
Or just bring us your goods. Bring us your goods that you've accumulated,
Yeah,
and then maybe you'll get a
100%.
message in the meantime.
Yeah, you know. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm looking for a TV. If anyone,
I had Jordans, I'm just saying.
yeah,
What I
or
mean? No, but
PS5. If you got a PS5 or a TV, bring it up. I might, I might
in,
be
in,
interested.
in all seriousness, man, come be a part of, get you a sponsor, find a good fellowship, and we got all walks of life up at the spot, and everything that we're doing out in the community. Find your people, find your tribe, man, and come with us, man. We've recovered, and we're here to help you.
Yeah, and thank you, not just for doing the interview, but for helping me personally come from a state of hopelessness to like the person I am today, who's, I think a better version of myself, and continuously trying to find a better relationship with God, and just striving to, uh, you know, um, implement the principles of this program in every aspect of my life. You've taught me that I don't have to use really no matter what. And I've been through some crazy shit in recovery, and like because of the principles of this program, and because you know I listened to your advice. I mean, I didn't really do anything but listen, and I mean sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. But as a direct result of that, I haven't had to go out over any of the shit that I've been through, and I just want to say thank you for that. Especially recently in my life with the shit that I had going on. I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Shameless plug, dude. Tim will sponsor the shit out of you.
I will. I will.
He will. He he's like a professional juggler of many different areas of recovery and help you out tremendously. Uh, he and I promise your fifth step won't be on the podcast. So if that was
No.
one of your concerns, that definitely won't.
Yeah, no, it won't.
He's a
It
he's a
won't.
vault, but shameless plug. Help Tim. I appreciate you, and you've turned into a great man, and I know you're going to do more
Thank you.
great things to come.
Thank you, man. All right, well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. I don't know if you've made it this far in the podcast. That's fine if you just watch the reels. We just need the watch hours and we need the views. We need to monetize this so that we can recoup some of the money from the camera, the really expensive camera we bought. And and yeah, come up to the spot and get a vape, a shirt. See Stefan, see Bryan, see any of us, and we'll point you in the right direction. And recovery is definitely possible. And it's for you. If you're out there struggling, it's definitely for you. So again, thank you, Bryan, and I'll let you get back to your busy ass day, and I'll edit this and hopefully have it up a little bit later today.
Yeah, maybe let's cut the part about recouping the costs from the camera.
I'm leaving it in now for sure.
No, no, I mean, but if you have a cool camera that you came up on, come through the spot. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, bro. I love you. I'll talk to you
All right,
later.
love you too, bro. Later.
Later.